Hello, this is Malorian, and this is the Orc Tactical Team, and what we're going to be talking about today is the new victory conditions, the new way that you win the game in 8th compared to how you won the game in 7th. And the first thing that is really apparent and is really different from 7th is the fact that there's actually scenarios. So in 7th is always the same thing: pitch battle, match up, go fight out. But now you're always going to be rolling for a random scenario, just like in 40k. And that really changes the way you have to build your list and the way you're going to be playing the game. So first of all, out of the 6 random missions, the first one is called Battle Line, which basically is the pitch battle from 7th. Now, there's nothing new here really, but one thing I can talk about is that I had to completely change what I was going to say for this week, because for a while my book told me that you needed twice as many victory points as your opponent in order to get a victory. Anything else is a loss. And what that means is that you basically didn't want support units anymore, because if you lost anything, it was critical, because all of a sudden it was going to get so much harder to have twice as many victory points as your opponent. So I was going to really talk about how everything has to be big block of hordes, no support units, but now that turns out that's a typo. The FAQ came out just today, and you actually now only need to have 100 points difference for a win, and then if you have double, then it's a massacre. So that means that you can actually have support units. You can lose some things. It's just like in 7th, you have to make sure you just kill more, and at the end you're 100 points ahead, which actually isn't that big of a deal, especially because even there's some things like banners are worth less than things, but overall you just got to make sure you kill one more of your opponent and everything's fine. So that's a little bit for Battle Line. Another thing that's a really big change is that now, in order to get victory points, you have to completely destroy a unit. And also as part of this FAQ, if you have a character that's on a mount, you have to kill both the character and the mount to get any points. So what that means is that for a unit, if you're losing some things, some models, and you're almost getting wiped out, time to start fleeing, because even if you're fleeing at the end of the game, you don't count as destroyed, and you get, your opponent gets no victory points whatsoever. So if you're playing through a game, it looks like you're down to the last 3 guys, head in the back line. If you're getting charged last turn, flee no matter what, just because it doesn't matter. If you get away, you're taking all those victory points away from your opponent. So that's that part. So let's go on to the next one. That's called Dawn Attack. Now Dawn Attack, the next one, it's kind of interesting because that's the one where it's random deployment. You have to roll for each unit, see where it goes. And the big thing here is you're going to have to make sure when you're making up your list that you're knowing what you're going to be doing through your characters, because your characters can either be in a unit or by themselves. So when you have your key things like your general and stuff, you should be thinking, if I got this mission, what units would I be joined with, what would be safe? Because the last thing you want is all your army over here and then your general over here or something like that, right? For the most part though, it shouldn't be really screwing you over. I mean, 3 to 5 is in the center. So what that could mean is that if normally you have one power unit in the side that's flanked by supporting units, if that goes to the side, well then all of a sudden you might just be doing a refused flank and swing around. So you just got to kind of change your tactics right away and be a little bit more flexible. But as long as you've already thought ahead of where you have those key characters, you should be fine in the end. The next one is called Battle for the Pass. And what this one is of course you're playing on the short table edges, and what this game is awesome for is if you're a gun line, because you can easily deploy way on one side. From the middle line they have to be a foot back, so you can very easily put more than 3 feet starting between you and your opponent, giving you lots of time to blast them. So if you are a gun line, use this opportunity to deploy way back and blast them. If you're playing against a gun line and you're not fast enough to catch them, you also should deploy all the way back and just maybe wait it out. That might be the best thing to do. Maybe shoot some long range magic, but there's nothing saying in the game that you have to go forward and get massacred, right? So sometimes it's best just to take the time and say, all right, you're a gun line, you went with this thing, well, okay, great. Well, we'll play again in the next one. So that's that. Next one is Blood and Gore. And now this one, it really reminds me of some of the missions that were like an Assassination thing, because what this is about is that there's kind of like the game points For every 1,000 points, there's another one. So say at 3,000, you have 3 game points. Your general's worth 2, any banners are worth 1, and when you get down to the game point level for that game, then you just automatically lose. So of course, first of all, everybody should make sure they have lots of banners so that the game doesn't start and you automatically lose. That's the problem right now with my ogres and wood elves, is that if I got this game as my army is up right now, because I was doing MSU, boom, I'd be losing. So I have to completely do my entire army. Now I said this one's Assassination because, of course, it's kind of nice if you can destroy some of these units, but as always, you should be always gunning for the general to try and get that benefit of being ahead of the points, make sure they don't have the leadership bubble. But in this case here, they're also losing 2 game points. So it could be not only that if you have some sort of character killer that's a flyer or something, or with a lure of death just to blast them, that if you kill their general, not only do you have an advantage game-wise, but you could just win the game right there. That could bring them down low enough. So for this one here, everybody in your army, make sure they have lots of banners, and make sure you have a good character killer, and on the reverse of that, make sure you have a good way to defend your general, because they're going to be coming after you. Next one is called Meeting Engagement, and the thing that seems really big on this is that there's kind of you cut the board like this, and you roll a dice for each unit, and on a 1 they have to go into reserves. And so I think the big thing here is that if you have an army that relies on 1 key unit, you are running the risk of them not starting on the board. And because also you just have to start 6 away from center, you can start really close. So a combat army can be rushing you right away. So what you have to be careful about here is that if you are really relying on just 1 unit, you're going to have to be really defensive, and you're going to have to try and stay back in your corner and try and have some support units up there to try and speed bump them and slow them down. That being said, there's only a 1 in 6 chance you'll get this game, only a 1 in 6 chance that 1 key unit or character, because in this one characters can't safely join a unit, won't start. And so I guess that's a little bit a 1 in 36 chance that the worst thing's going to happen, right? Like if you just made 1 super graveguard unit, there's only a 1 in 36 chance that you're not going to have that going into the game. But it's something you have to be prepared for, and also knowing that each and every single piece, something could be missing. So just trying to think in your game plan how it's really easy when you're making up an army to have a set formation, and I still think you should be doing that, Nate. You should be thinking of ideas, but you should be thinking of alternate formations as well, depending on, okay, what happened if I'm in this position? What happened if I didn't have this unit? How am I going to reposition this? So just some things you have to keep in mind. And if you're the attacker in this one, and so your opponent, say, doesn't have their slan, well, gun in there as fast as you can and try and kill as much as you can before they can support. Or same thing, if they don't have a lot of shooting, well, get in there as soon as you can. So it's kind of things you have to kind of get a real jump on them. The last game in here is called the Watchtower, and in this one there's a tower in the center, and whoever controls that one, then the game wins. So there's 2 real key things you have to make sure you have in your army when going into this. 1, you want to make sure that you have a good size unit of 20, so that if you're starting with the tower, you have a solid unit to hold it. So you should be thinking that, okay, if I get this, because it could be that, if you have that super unit of 40 Graveguard, they're too big, and all of a sudden you're having to start something else in there. If you're the attacker, you want to make sure you have something unit that, okay, if I had to attack a tower and take a tower, I have something offensive enough, or at least with supporting magic and shooting, I have something offensive enough that I could blast this tower and take it quickly. And at the same time, after I take it, having something that can run into there and hold it. And really, if you have any horde, say of 40 models plus ish, that should be good enough, because once you get that big unit in there, you're stubborn and you should be there for a long time. One of the things you can remember, though, is that on your turn, you could always have a weakened unit inside walk out and have a bigger unit walk inside. You can also join with characters. So if you're the attacker in this one, you have to try to take this tower away. You have to attack like crazy and get that before it's supported, which is basically you have 2 turns to take it. So that's really it. I went through all the missions. In general, just make sure that, you're playing a lot of points denial, fleeing, taking big units so that they can't wipe you out. And next time I'm going to be talking about terrain and how terrain affects 8th and how you can use it to your advantage. So see you then. Bye.